Then you got record labels opening up IPOs, destroying their relationships with TikTok, Spotify, things that pay out artists because they want to start their own shit. It's not as hard to make a profit as it seems, but it's hard to get out of bad contracts.
It's like a horrible deal, but someone's just like, I believe in you and I want to help you. And sometimes that's enough to get artists and bands to sign. I've had the opportunity to represent some of the biggest acts around the world as a music attorney, now coming up on 10 years, and it's exciting for me when there are really big artists like Vince Staples, who can offer a little bit of his insight. You know, it's one thing just to kind of talk about what it's like to be in the music business and to be hustling and to be an independent artist, which we talk about a lot on this channel. But if you do want to be signed with a label, if you do want to collaborate with other businesses in the future, the rules are the same when it comes to the music business. So Vince Staples had a conversation with the mayor of Long Beach, and this was a City of Long Beach youth event, and there were a couple things I thought were so fantastic, so I wanted to make sure to share those with you guys. So without further ado, I'm gonna give you a lawyer reacts to Vince Staples and his thoughts on the music business.
Hey, who you think winning between Drake and Kendrick? It's going up on social media. Don't trip, I got your back, bro.
You don't want to know how I feel about that shit, bro.
All right, look, get with me after the...
You really want to know how I feel about that shit?
Feel?
I want
to
know.
Yeah.
So
Ooh, you know, here's the thing. If you are an artist of any size, if you're gonna commit an opinion, you gotta be willing to deal with any fallout that happens after that. See what he says though.
Signed to Universal, right?
Yeah.
I've been signed to Universal since I was 17. I haven't got a back end. That means when you turn in an album, they give you payment. I haven't got a back end since 2017, 18. So I done been on the same record label for 13 years. So
Stop it. Did you catch that? He said, I signed with Universal when I was 17 years old. I haven't been paid any royalties. That's what back end means. I haven't been paid anything from my royalties since 2018. Yikes. We'll talk about that.
That record label just folded all of its independent labels and subsidiaries into each other, which means how we was kids, you got Rockefeller, you got Def Jam, you got all these things, none of them exist no more. They fired all the heads of the labels, and if they didn't, they turned them into glorified A&Rs. They cut off 50% of the people who work in all these departments. Most of those people is us, people of color that come from hip-hop and R&B and these other things, right? Then you got record labels opening up IPOs. You got record labels destroying their relationships with TikTok, Spotify, things that pay out artists because they want to start their own shit.
So an IPO being, you know, like one example might be Meta. So it's a private company that then becomes a public company, right? Becomes very valuable. And so I think what he's saying is that, you know, part of this is that the interests of the artists are no longer there or represented by the label.
So then we getting priced out of our contracts. We getting priced out of our imprints. There are no labels, basically, that are incentivized to sign black music, and it's happening in front of our eyes. And while Taylor Swift is fighting for people to be able to have streaming money, niggas is on the internet arguing with each other about some rap shit. So that's how I feel about
that. What a smart way. What a smart way to handle that question. See how he navigated that? He didn't even answer the question. He could be a lawyer. But the one thing that he also noted is about how these like labels, they end up doing these direct deals because it's actually really tough. I was talking with someone about this today and how like distributors have to negotiate even for the distribution platforms because it's really difficult to go directly to Spotify and do a contract directly with Spotify. And even if you do, you get terrible terms because, you know, it's like if you're not Universal, you mean nothing to them, right? And so that every which way that you can monetize the music business, music businesses are trying to do that. And then, lo and behold, who gets crushed but the artists?
Language is on there.
Language, Vince. Language. Nah, I appreciate you keeping it real.
So I think, personally, I think we better than that. I think we deserve better than that because we've been saying for decades that we want people to respect black music and black art and black people. And I think for that to happen, we got to respect ourselves. And they don't make it easy for us, but we got to try to work a little bit harder at that.
As an artist, what advice would you have? And as a person trying to chase their dreams, what else advice would you have?
Learn the economics of the business. Learn the real payouts and the payout structures because what happens in art, whether it's film or music, anything, is set up to put you in debt. So if you know how the money works, then you'll never be in debt and you can make a profit.
So he just basically said, learn the economics of the business, learn the music business. If you don't know how the business works, you are going to get swallowed by it. And that's why I just stress it so much. I'm like, it's not good enough anymore for you to be like, I release songs and I watch some videos on like how to do my music marketing. That's not good enough. So he goes, learn the music business so you know how stuff works, including things like industry standards. So someone comes along and they're like, I'll be your manager, I'm gonna take 50%. And you're like, no, actually I watch Top Music Attorney and I know that a manager gets 15 to 20% is industry standard, go take a hike. So besides that, he goes, also know the money. So I say this means contracts. Understand what it is that you're signing and how it's going to work, how much you're getting paid, what are the back-end royalties, what are the actual logistics to the money involved with what you're doing.
It's not as hard to make a profit as it seems, but it's hard to get out of bad contracts. It's hard to get out of bad stipulations and terms because those things will last you. You know, when you sign up.
He's saying this is like painful for me to watch because he's saying stuff that is so valuable, like word after word after word after word, because he's like, you know, it's easy enough to be like, oh, let's make a quick decision. Let's, you know, I see the money, and then you sign a contract and then you're signed and stuck in a contract. And he's like, you know, since he was 17 years old. And I can tell you what those contracts look like. I do these deals with major labels every single day. And the idea is to get you signed so that if something great happens with your career, that you are stuck with the label and they have something like 5, 6, maybe even more options, meaning additional albums that you have to do, which extends the contract. So it's like a 10-year contract.
Record deal, you're signed in perpetuity, name and likeness to the extent of the known universe, meaning that if they put people on Mars tomorrow, then they own your name and your face and everything that you make, and they can sell it to the aliens. And that's crazy verbiage for contracts, and that's how this thing works.
They're selling it to the aliens. He's like, that's some crazy contract language. Although he's not too far off. You know, in contracts we say, you agree that the territory in this contract is all the universe plus the metaverse. Like, we say stuff like that in contracts. But, you know, especially with the name, image, and likeness, that is not, let me just be clear on that, that is not in every single record label deal that you'll do. And in fact, I don't think it's even industry standard at this point. In certain territories, if you do deals in like Mexico, all right, it is. In the US, if I see that anywhere near anything that my artist is going to sign, I throw the biggest tantrum. My artist is not signing this. Never sign away your name. The right for someone else to control your image, your likeness. It's one thing to be like, hey, I'm doing a deal with a record label. They're going to take ownership of my music. They may or may not do something for me. Hopefully they will. And if they don't, they still own my stuff, which really sucks. But if you have a deal where they're saying we're doing all of that and we get to own your name, yikes is all that I can say. And if I was your attorney, I would definitely say a whole lot more than that. Become your own record label, which is literally if you're like, hey, I want to start a record label. Cool, I got you. Understand the entire music business. I want to set up my LLC. I want to do the marketing. It's a lot. So for example, sync licensing, for example, music marketing, it's significantly cheaper than anything you would ever get from a law firm as far as all the stuff that comes with it. And you want to make 6 figures from your music career and you want to do this for real, like, I'm going to give you what you need.
So if you know the business of it, you'll be able to know how to kind of keep yourself afloat and try to retain as much ownership as everything as you can and make what you want, because singularity is important. If you can be replaced, if your story can be replaced, and you can have a career for the rest of your life. Singularity
is important because you can't be replaced. And I think that's so, it's such a disposable kind of thing, because like while we're early in our careers, there's this desperation. There really is. And I felt it. You know, I was an independent artist for a long time and I got deals and I signed stuff and I went through the whole gambit. But I also then went to law school and I also stopped putting up with nonsense. But even before I went to law school, I kind of took it upon myself. I'm like, no, like I'm not going to get taken advantage of and I'm going to teach myself. So I actually knew more about copyright law before I went to law school than after I had graduated, okay? And it's just being like, you don't have to wait for anybody else for you to start learning this information on your own. You don't have to wait to get signed to a record label to build yourself up, to get fans, to sell merchandise, to get yourself on tour. But, you know, to his point, I love it. It's just like singularity is the thing that you have that no one else does. And then you have to believe that you are really that special and that there really isn't anyone like you. And that if you believe that, that will then translate into your marketing. It will translate into you finding the fans who are going to buy your merch and come to your shows. But it also will just give you a perspective for you valuing yourself so that when someone comes along, and that someone might not be Universal, okay? It's like Johnny's record, and I don't even want to finish what name it could be because that's probably someone's record label name. But some record label comes and is like, hey, I want to sign you, I believe in you, and then it's like, no advance. The royalty is 15% on the back end. I mean, it's like a horrible deal, but someone's just like, I believe in you and I want to help you. And sometimes that's enough to get artists and bands to sign. Because they were just looking for some kind of like, what do? I need help. And I love what he's saying because he's basically saying like, you need to do this for yourself. You have to understand it, you have to hustle, and you have to try to keep ownership of what you create.
So those are the two most important things I would say.
So good. And you know, I don't always get a chance to really get these stories out on a platform like this, okay? Because I get to know all the juicy stuff with my clients because they tell me, right? And we have attorney-client privilege. And then sometimes I have cases that I can bring to this platform. Like you guys know the big TuneCore dispute, you know, TuneCore, the music distributor, and, you know, just being able to talk about it because my client gave me the permission to. But, you know, stuff like this, I just really appreciate when artists will share, including about their struggles. So if you're watching this video, you're a part of the Top Music Attorney community. Whether you're an artist, a music producer, an independent record label, drop a comment down below. Let me know what you do. And just know that you have a home here. And I am here to help you with your music career, to help you stay legally protected. And we're gonna do this together. I'll see you guys on the next one. I'm Top Music Attorney, Miss Krystle.